Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, um, and blessings every day to you and yours and all of your family. I'm your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, and it is 3:30 on Christmas morning here on the East Coast, and I live in West Georgia. Now, over the recent months, I've been observing an anomaly out south of my location here, and I have been talking about UFOs and so forth. And in fact, the other day I did a Facebook video, and a friend of mine that I went to school with was like, were you serious about chasing this thing? And I was like, yeah, I really am. So, when it's, 2 o'clock in the morning and it's cold outside, and you're not sure if your truck's going to start, and I'm like, man, why, and so I've seen this thing enough times to where it's like, I just had to get the guts up to go outside, see if my truck would start, take my camera, my binoculars and everything and follow this thing. So tonight I did. My truck started. So let me give you, it's 3:30 now. Well, 3:32. But anyway, good morning to you. And again, Merry Christmas and blessings to all of you and yours. But anyway, so let me tell you my little bit of saga. I live about 18 miles almost due north of Thomasville, Georgia. And my address is Meigs, Georgia, but I live in the southwest corner of Colquitt County, almost 2 miles to each county line from where I live. Anyway, just to kind of, if you want to look up on Google Earth. But so I've been out my windows here. Is almost due south because my house, as I've said before, is a passive solar house. So most of my windows and everything are almost due south. So looking in that direction, I'm always looking south. Anyway, so I'm always looking towards Thomasville. Well, tonight, so the other day I looked it up on Google Earth, and I'm trying to triangulate where I'm seeing this, object that's in the distance off on the horizon. But it keeps shifting, east and west, mostly to the west. So tonight I'm like, I got enough gumption. I seem alert. I feel spunky, you know. And it's like, so I decided, what the hell? So I grabbed my camera and gear and everything and jump in the truck and I start chasing this thing. I mean, so I go down, Highway 202. Hello, Marie. How are you? Merry Christmas to you. And so it's almost due south down this highway. And so I'm watching it as I'm going south, and it's on the horizon, and I'm keeping an eye on it, and I'm like, "Ooh, this is really interesting." I'll keep an eyeball on it. I want to see how far south I need to go, and whether or not this thing's going to get any higher in the on the horizon or anything, or get any clearer. You just got back from the families. Wonderful, wonderful. I hope you had a good time. Seriously, I do, and that everything went well. So anyway, so I'm driving down to Thomasville, straight shot, very few curves. It's almost due south, and as I'm driving south, the anomaly is like in the middle of the road kind of thing, a little bit off to the left or right, but I can really clearly see it because up here where I live, as I come around this one curve just down from the house about a mile, the elevation is 315 feet above sea level, which is one of the highest points in the county and around this particular area. And it's a beautiful shot all the way south. There's a ridge along here where I live, and where this highest point is, it goes down into a valley of sorts. It drops down, and you can see a long ways off in the distance. So anyway, just to give you a little bit of visual. So I can see this thing a mile from the house, clear as day. And I'm like, wow. I get out with my binoculars, stop on the side of the road, and it's doing all this funky, weird color change thing. And when I look at it with my eyeballs, it looks more like a triangle, one here and one on either side. Now, I don't mean like a TR3B or something. I mean like a triangle like this. But when I look at it through the binoculars, which are high powered, and well, I got them right here. I took them off the tripod. So this is what I'm using, to view these things with. And well, let me put my glasses on. And I'll tell you what magnification I'm using just for reference because I can never remember. It's a 15 by 70, and this is a Simmons 231 feet at 1,000 yards. So it brings in stuff, 3 to 1, I think, something like that. Anyway, to the point, this is what I'm using for my observations, and you really got to hold them still. I use the tripod most of the time. So anyway, I get all the way down. I get 18 miles south into Thomasville. I'm sitting at the traffic light there at Highway 19, just north of Thomasville, and I'm watching this thing. And it's a little higher in the sky, and I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. So I go on in towards Thomasville, take the truck right around, and like I'm going down to Tallahassee. Well, when I get to the south side of Thomasville, I realize that if I take 319 into Tallahassee, I'm going to be going too far west. So as I go down 319, there's a little town south of Thomasville called Metcalf. And so I take the Metcalf Road, which I did. And there's a sawmill there in Metcalf that services North Florida and a lot of South Georgia. Big Metcalf lumber mill, big deal down there. So anyway, I went all the way across the Florida line and at least 5 miles into North Florida, which is just north of Miccosukee, Lake Miccosukee down there, and stop along the side of the road, and I'm like, it gets lower in the sky. It's actually getting fainter. So 5 miles into Florida, I can't see it near as good as I could 50 miles north here at my house from straight up my window. So I'm like, what the hell? So I stopped on the side of the road and I picked a spot. It was a beautiful night, nice and clear down here, and can see all the stars and everything. So I started doing a couple of experiments with focus. And I realized that when I focused on the planets and on this big thing that might very well be that comet that's coming in, it's sort of a bluish green tint to it, and they say it's in Orion. It's actually would be to the east of Orion. But anyway, but it's very bright in the sky right now. And so, but it's the color doesn't change. It's consistent. It's not flickering. This thing that I'm observing is flickering all over the place, doing this number kind of thing. And I mean, I know my variable stars, and there's not a variable star in the south like that. And especially when I drive 45 miles south across and 5 miles into Florida, Merry Christmas. Here I am, like, if anybody stops me, they're going, what are you doing out on the highway? I'm chasing a UFO. Because I've been reporting that from my observations, it seemed like this thing was over the Georgia-Florida border, about 40, 50 miles south of me. Well, I went there tonight and I chased it. It kept going further south until the damn thing disappeared. Now, I mean, I was like, I'm standing there going, what the hell? And I was hoping I took my camera, I took, my stuff, and I was thinking, I'm going to get a really good shot of this. I'm going to drive, if I have to, I'm driving to freaking Florida, Christmas Eve or not, and I'm going to get a better shot of this thing. The damn thing moved faster than I was driving and went out of view before I could ever get a clear shot of the thing. I mean, it was like, what the hell? And so when I got into Metcalf, it's just a small little town, a couple of old homes, but mostly it's the lumber mill, the lumber yard, the mill and the lumber yard, etc. So it's almost due north and south. I've looked at it on the map before in reference to other things. But so as I'm driving down Main Street in Metcalf, which is like 15 miles from where I stopped in Florida, maybe 20, roughly, same highway. I can see this anomaly and it's fairly clear, but it's closer to the horizon than what it was here looking out my window from standing right over there. So I'm like, what the hell? So by the time I could get across the Florida line, the damn thing disappeared entirely to where I couldn't see it on the horizon at all, no matter what kind of clear shot I got. And I got a couple of good shots. It had to stop and wiggle between the trees just right, but it was clearly visible, and it kept getting dimmer and dimmer. And I'm like, what the muck is going on here? So okay, so I turn around and I'm heading back into Thomasville, and I drive back across the Florida line and through Metcalf. Like it's about 10 miles maybe distance approximately to Metcalf, and then about 3 or 4 miles north of Metcalf, I was up on a good hill there, and I had good clear vision and everything. And I stopped the truck on the yeah, I did look for the comet, Marie, by the way, and I was using it as a reference point, which I'm fixing to get to here in a second. So I stop on the side of the road, and I'm thinking, I chased this thing all the way into Florida, and the damn thing disappeared. Well, I'm like crap, was hoping for a better shot, and I was gonna meet it, and it was gonna be up higher on the horizon. I was gonna, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, here's my chance, son of a bitch, it disappeared, and I mean due south. So anyway, as I stop on the side of the road, because I'm looking out my truck and I know I'm going relatively north, but I want to get a view of what stars I'm looking at through my truck windows. I'm driving home, right? Beautiful, clear night and everything, and just got to watch out for deer. Saw a 6-point buck about a quarter mile from just around the corner, actually across the yard over here, my neighbor's yard. Beautiful buck as I'm coming home tonight, just like 20 minutes ago. Yeah, literally, yeah, 20 minutes ago. Because I came right in from the truck and flipped this thing on because I wanted to get the information out like while it was clear in my head and fresh. I mean, I just literally just jumped out of the truck 15 minutes ago. But anyway, so I stop and I'm looking and go, well, there's the Big Dipper. Well, there's the North Star, and there's this, and there's what the hell's over there, almost due east. It's the same shimmering triangle thing about the same distance above the horizon. Now, I know it's not the same one because in Metcalf, I could see it due south of me. And by the time I got 10 miles down the road, it disappeared. Now, and to the point, as I was driving back through Metcalf, which was kind of odd, I could see in my rearview mirror, my side mirror, I could see this little piece of glow just faintly. And I was like, that's it, because there was nothing else in that field of vision. So I was like, well, that's interesting. So, but 2 or 3 miles north of Metcalf, I stop and I'm observing, and almost due east of me, there's this another anomaly. So I'm now I've been thinking about this. So I get my big binoculars out and I use my truck to steady them because of that powerful. It's hard, they jiggle easy, especially when you're focusing in on a star or something. So I focus in on the comet and I get it in focus and all the stars around it clear. I point it to the east to look at this same anomaly, right? And the stars were in focus around this anomaly, but the anomaly was out of focus, which means it's closer than any of the stars because I had to pull back in order to bring the object that's doing the tinkering in the east into focus. So that took everything in the background out of focus. So for 10 minutes, I stood there on the side of the road going, what the hell? I tried it with different stars. I was using the Big Dipper because this thing was sort of at the end of the end of the tail of the Big Dipper. So I was using that star and some other star around it and playing with the focus, And rather than trying two eyes, I was actually using it like a monocular. I was just using one eye because for me it's easier to focus. My left eye is like anyway. So but my right eye is the stronger one. So anyway, so I'm using my right eye, and that's my cider one, right? And everything's in focus, and I'm checking between eyes, and everything looks good. And then I look at the anomaly, not in focus. So I have to pull it in a little bit, like I said, and all this, every single star, everything around it goes out of focus for me to try to pinpoint, which I never really can pinpoint it. It's doing this triangularly thing, kind of thing. And I'm like, now that's weird. So now it's out my right side window. So I can basically track it all the way home, 40 miles, 45 miles back, almost straight due north, a little bit of turn here and there, but basically almost due north back here to my house. I watched that damn thing. Now, it was barely above the trees. It was clearly easy to find, but it was like a finger. If I held out my finger and maybe two fingers above the tops of the trees in the horizon, it would disappear. So that's how close it was. Now, in 30 minutes' time, by the time I could get back up to this really clear spot down the road for me, beautiful, I can see all over the place. I mean, it's like 300 feet above sea level. It's almost as high as the other hill I was talking about, but there's nobody that lives around there. No lights, no nothing. I mean, you can see almost all the way around. There are some trees on the corner. It's at a crossroads. So to the northwest is hard for me to see towards the horizon, but everywhere else, I got a good view of the north all the way around to the northeast. I mean northwest. So there's only a little patch of the sky I can't see to the horizon. So really clear tonight, and so by the time I get there, which was like 15 minutes from where I spotted it down towards Metcalf, the damn thing had risen to the point where it was a full 4 fingers above the same horizon line. Now I know I went up in elevation, but not that much because I was on a hill north of Metcalf. I wanted to make sure I was on a rise so I could say, where I was. Blah. Anyway, but to the point though, it had risen so many degrees in the sky by the time I got 20 miles up the road. And like, that's just not normal. And so when I got here to the house, I sit down the hill. So looking east is difficult for me for things on the horizon. But just 2 miles down the road, and now less than 20 minutes ago, this thing had shifted and was higher up on the horizon again. It had shifted closer to the north because I noticed where the tail of the Big Dipper was, that in where it was in relationship to it. Now, me driving north 20 miles should not have made that object get closer or further away from the Big Dipper if it was stationary. And the other point is that when I got to from Metcalf to where I viewed it down the road, 2 miles down the road from me on that hill, 20 minutes tops. No way that something should have moved up that far on the horizon. No way. Even if my elevation was different from where it was on the horizon, it should not have moved that much higher in the sky. I mean, because I was looking out this way to look at it. Now I have to look up at it like this. That's no, not in 20 minutes. 2 hours, okay. Maybe even an hour, not 20 minutes. And I mean, I drove straight to that spot because I wanted to get a good shot of it before anything else could change, or it disappeared altogether like that one I chased into damn Florida. And I'm like, now I tried my best to get a picture of this thing. And I should have just took a picture of him here in the house because chasing it into Florida didn't do a damn bit of good. And I'm like, and I'm going now to the good news of this story is that now I know where it isn't. Now, as I chased it south, I can verify now from triangulation and certain things in the sky, this thing is at least on the Florida border when I'm observing it from my house. Because I'm about 280 feet above sea level right here. And looking down, I'm actually looking down through a valley, if you will, because south of me just loses elevation as you get towards Florida. So, I got, depending on where I'm at, I got a good view of a long way south. So while I'm in Metcalf, I realized that I went by several of the television towers down there, and they're up on hills in right on the Florida Georgia border, man. And I mean, these towers are like 12, 1,500 feet tall. They're great, big, huge television towers, and there are other cell towers and things around it. And so when I drove by the things, I was like, now that's a good reference. Now, 10 miles north of Metcalf, I could barely see the top of a 1,200-foot tower. 10 miles north. I could see it, but it was now. So whatever I'm viewing is a lot taller than 1,000 feet. But at the same point, it's like, so in 10 miles, I lost, 1,000 feet. And by the time I got up into Thomasville, I had to be up on a hill looking through the trees to see the little beep, beep, beep of the light. So, there's a 1,200-foot reference. I also have a reference because of the tower. Uh, a line of sight, if you will. Now, what freaked me out tonight and kind of got me on the road at 1:12, it was one. It was 12 minutes after 1 this morning. I decided I'm going to haul ass in my truck, right? And so I'm excited about this because I'm telling you, fresh out of the truck. Like, let me get a drink here and I'll continue my observations. But whatever it is seems to be sticking in a triangular type pattern. But when I look at it through the binoculars, it's almost like these twigs or sticks or something, and they're little like LED lights going off, and they're all different kind of colors. And as I'm going south, I'm thinking, I know there's no star down there. I've looked at the star charts. There's nothing in the sky that's supposed to be that bright and twinkling the way that I've noticed. So the further south I drove, all these things are going through my head, and I'm observing other things. I'm looking at the comet out through the front window. I'm watching all these things in the sky this morning, right? And I'm noticing, I'm like, well, but why is this thing like going up and down? Why is it getting brighter and dimmer? But it's not really changing location. Now tonight, I had my binoculars set up on a tripod over here, so they hold still. And my field of vision is kind of narrow looking south. So every time it gets, nighttime, especially anywhere after 10 o'clock, I start looking south to see if I see anything, just looking out the window, right? But since it's been so consistent, I haven't had to move the tripod. It's that light shows up in the same field of vision, tripod set, focus is set, there it is, and so I was like, isn't that interesting? Now tonight, it wasn't in the same spot. It was more to the east, and I had to move the tripod over 2 feet to look through to get a different vantage point. And then I started thinking, this is the time for me to jump in my truck and try to chase this thing down, which is what I just did. And so I'm like, now what the hell? And so as I went south, I realized that if I was watching another video, uh, 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 actually it was about a UFO, and they were showing how they were triangulating this thing, and in England, the Berwyn, it's the Cordon Berwyn something mountain and cover up thing, and that happened back in, I think it was about 1974, in off the sort of the what it would be the west coast of England. Anyway, so I watched this earlier today, and they were showing how they got a view from this point and a view from this point, and there was another observation, and they put these two people on the map and pointed to where everybody thought they saw it, and they got a point of view, and within so many degrees of where this thing could have landed on the side of the hill, right? So I'm like, that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm like, but I can't triangulate anything because I'm only doing it from a single point, my backyard. So I drove 45, maybe it's 50 miles. I'll check the odometer. I got gas in Thomasville, and before I came home, and I was like, let me see about this. But I know it's at least 45 miles, and could very possibly be closer to 50, is what I drove south this morning. And the interesting part about that, though, is now I have landmarks to be able to put where I'm at, where I saw it, where my vision was, straight down Main Street of Metcalf. That's on Google Earth and on all the other maps. So that road's been there for a long time. So I can get a true north south relation from where I am. So now I have my own observation from several different points going south all the way into Florida, and within relationship of where I viewed it in relationship to the television towers. So now I have references. So to me, it was damn worth the trip. The other thing was when that one disappeared in the south. I mean, within minutes, I spotted that one in the east. I don't know what that sucker is. It's not supposed to be there. I checked the planetary charts. There's not supposed to be anything over there that's that bright. And so I kept looking, okay, what is it as bright as? And it's as bright as the head star or brighter in Orion. It's brighter than the head star. You know, there's the three belts, and right now Orion's upside down. There's one bright star here, then the belt and the arm. Anyway, so I call that the head star. Um, I know it's got a name, I just can't remember it right now, but it's fairly bright, and that was my reference point, and also to focus in on that star and on the comet coming in. So that's when I would turn back around to the east, and everything, all the other stars stayed in focus, but I kept having to bring the other object in, meaning in whatever this field of vision is, the object, the anomaly that I'm talking about, UFO, because it's damn sure unidentified, and it is moving across the sky. It's not a star, not a planet. You know, I don't know what it is. I have no explanation other than to say I chased one of them into Florida and it disappeared, and another one showed up in the east. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. But the sad part is all I can give you is my observations through my binoculars, because you know I it my poor little camera just it just looks like a little dot. You know, I don't have the equipment to take a picture of the thing, but I can clearly see it through my binoculars, and with you know with my even with my you know my left eye that's so my tired eye, if you will. And I got a big a bad bang on over my left eye years ago that literally put me in the hospital and kind of drove me crazy for a couple of years. And so it's no wonder this eye doesn't quite work as good as the right one does. But anyway, but all the way down, I noticed there were certain parts in like Metcalf and along down there, but the reason the television towers are in Metcalf is because of the elevation, and because of the they put it it now kind of think of it, it might be that those towers are actually on the Florida side, but they're I mean they're right on the Georgia border, Laura. And hmm, I was watching the sky so much I can't really tell, but I mean those towers are right on the border. But the address is Metcalf when you look up about the towers, but it doesn't mean that those towers aren't actually physically located in Florida, because there are several Tallahassee stations that WCTV uses that one particular tower especially, and they call it Thomasville, Tallahassee, down in this area when you look it up. But anyway, and they used to have, well, they probably still do have a minimal studio in Thomasville. WALB Channel 10, which is in Albany, it has a small station in Thomasville a little satellite station in Thomasville as well. But anyway, um, that's how important Thomasville is. But I was surprised that as I followed this thing south, that it was more closer to Thomasville than it was to Cairo and Tallahassee. It's nowhere near Tallahassee. I mean, that's just a given. Now, one thing I want to bring up, and I'm gonna do some calculations. I want to put it on a whiteboard. But when and I picked this up from this observational thing. So when I realized that if I just use 60 miles, say if when I see it here, whatever I'm observing is at least 60 miles away, and that's my clearest view from here. Just using that as a whatever. Now I don't really know what the elevation is, but I know what degree of angle it is. I know what my elevation is and what the horizon would be. So with that, I can get some calculations. All right. Now the other thing is I had to move my tripod over 2 feet from the last 2 weeks. Like what the hell? Because it was further to the east. And it never did really move into my field of vision, my normal field of vision out my window. So I'm like, hmm. Now, the other thing I can do is because of my location and at least the distance, if I just use 60 miles, I've probably rounded up to 100 now that I've been down there. But I'm just saying 60 miles. So 60 miles. But if I viewed it from over here, 60 miles, if I move 5 degrees this way, how many miles is that 60 miles away? Oh, holy crap. This thing isn't just hovering back and forth. No, it's moving 60 miles because of what my field of vision is, the angle over here to this side, the angle over here to this side, and I see it moving back and forth, and I've got a very narrow view of seeing it very clearly. So this thing's moving 60 to 100 miles back and forth this way, where I thought, between Thomasville and Cairo, which is like 30 miles. No, this thing is going back and forth almost like it's on patrol. Now that I know that it's even further south, south of the Florida line, the next other thing that would like be in the way is Interstate 10. And Interstate 10 fluctuates from the Florida line, but when you get into Tallahassee, you reach Killarn Estates, and then you hit the interstate, and then it's Tallahassee kind of deal. So you hit Interstate 10 before you hit, it's on the north side of Tallahassee, Lake City, Monticello, all along in there. So it's the interstate. So about 25 miles south of the Georgia line is where Interstate 10 runs across. Now, okay, you got traffic and stuff, but I'm trying to think, why would something be zigzagging across the sky and coming further north and then going further south? Now I'll get out my maps and do a little bit more tinkering. But since I crossed the Florida line, now I got a reference point. Now I can do some calculations and at least some more um, theories, I guess, maybe to go along with this. I wish I had a damn picture. I really do. But, I'm going to try to work that out. I got another camera upstairs. It's an old Sony, and it's hard for me to get the video out. And so it's like, now the video works pretty good, but maybe I could play it on the TV and then pick it up with the other thing. I don't know. I'm gonna have to tinker, but it's got a really good zoom and it's got a really good focus and it's got this night vision thing, so it sees things better. I mean, but anyway, um, and the only reason I don't use it is because, like I say, it's difficult for me to get the video off of the camera because it's an old. Um, it was it was digital camera, but it was put on tape. It was just before the disc and the memory things came out. But anyway, With that said, though, it's been an interesting, you know, let's see, 48, about a 90-mile round trip down, down to Florida, watching the skies this morning. I didn't see Santa Claus, just saying. But whatever these anomalies are, now I at least have landmarks that I have traveled to. I mean, I just couldn't believe the damn thing disappeared, you know. And it was about 2 o'clock. So, and I left the house at about it was 12 minutes after when I was driving up the driveway because I looked at the clock. And my clock in my truck is about 5 or 7 minutes fast. And so it's like, it was just after 1. So, and it was about quarter after 2 when I reached my final destination down there in Florida. And there's no way that that thing should have just disappeared. If it was any kind of a star or anything, it should not have disappeared in that hour's drive down there. And I stopped several times to observe it. It was high in the sky, and and stopped in Florida. I mean, I stopped it just north of Metcalf on the way down. I kept sighting this thing. But when I got into Florida and wanted to take a picture of the son of a bitch, it disappeared. Merry Christmas. I mean, but the thing is like, I've actually had a ball, 85-mile round trip on Christmas Eve chasing UFOs. You gotta love it. I don't know. I'm, you know, at my age, I'm like, why the hell not? And the truck started. Oh, I was like, blessings. Ooh, somebody's looking out after me because I've been having trouble with the battery, but she started right up and down we went. So anyway, I was looking for Santa Claus and ended up with UFOs. And and I'm just sitting here going, I'm like taking a deep breath because I have, it. I've been in the house 2 minutes before I started this video, so it's like, Merry Christmas, cheers. Maybe I should go get my brandy out and have a toddy since I, made it home. I went down there to Florida and back without without getting abducted by the aliens. I'm amazed. Why did the damn thing disappear? I mean, just it was almost like it's been toying with me. But I reported a couple of days ago, I think, that I was watching this thing and it seemed like it kept going, it would disappear. I couldn't see it with my eyes, and I'd look in the viewfinder and it was like, well, it was there, but can't. And then all of a sudden I could see it with my eyes again. So I sat in Florida down there, you know, 10 minutes, and I was like, man, I got an hour's drive back. If I sit down here in Florida and fall asleep in my truck on the side of the road looking for alien craft to come back north again so I can take a picture, this is not going to work on Christmas Eve. I think I better head home. you know, but I think on maybe another time I could plan to go down there because I got some friends of mine that live south of Thomasville, and they live like a block from the Metcalf Highway. So I would be 20 miles closer to the Florida line or that area. So I'm like, maybe I should just go down there. And my friend has a really nice telescope. So twist his arm and say, come on, let's go find a field and go see if we can check this out. And I'd be a lot closer to where I keep sighting this thing. And now I know where to look because it keeps appearing in roughly the same part of the sky. However, like tonight, it was further east. And 2 nights was last night. Maybe it was. And the night before, it kept moving to the west. It was, I considered more over towards the Cairo area. But in that retrospect, if I look at it and expand this triangular thing, that whatever that is was actually closer to Tallahassee the other night because I'm like, oh, that's near Cairo. If I extend that line down into Florida, it was probably actually at Tallahassee or actually even possibly even south of Tallahassee. Now, there's nothing down there. There really isn't. It's just flat land and some places and little towns. I mean, there's nothing out there. Um, and the farmland is it's not really planted at anything because there's too much sand. There's usually some cattle and a little this and that, some little homestead and stuff, but it's northern Florida, you know. But so anyway, I'm going to have a smoke and put on my glasses and read your comments. I just wanted to do this right now, fresh on my mind, and relate this so at least there's a record of it. I, I just knew I was going to get closer to the thing I was going to get me a picture for Christmas. I was going to come back from Florida with a triumphant picture, and the damn thing disappeared. Oh, I had a good time by myself riding in the truck. Your son got a small telescope for Christmas, and you're on Sunset there. We saw a multicolored star when we were kids in the South heading to the snowy mountains when you were 6. Comets probably messing up weather, had some good storms past few days back. So did we here. It rained for like 3 days. I remember back in the day, UFOs used to interfere with the cameras and videos, causing them to go static. They're just showing themselves more frequently. Santa just upgraded from a slave, got himself Elon Musk Tesla slave. I wouldn't use anything that Elon Musk made if my life depended on it. Sana'd be better off with a Toyota Camry. On Dasher, on Dancer, on Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, Cooper, and Donner and Blitzen, yeah, ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas as you tow my Toyota across the sky. Maybe it's a Kia van. I don't know. Tickle the mess out of me. Oh wait! Oh, Dancer. Well, I'm sorry. Prancer's got diarrhea. We had to put him towards the back, and Santa got a face full. And Santa's got windshield. Poor Prancer. That's why the other one's called Dancer. He's always trying to get away from Prancer. I'm sorry. Woo! I haven't even had anything to drink or smoke, come to think of it. I was afraid of getting caught with anything down in Florida, so I was like, I ain't gonna take that. A little Datsun? Is that what you said? I hate the glare of my glasses. A little Datsun, yeah. Or my little Mazda, we'll say. But yeah, I'm going to go out here. I just wanted to do this little video and wish everybody Merry Christmas, honestly. And but gosh, I was so hoping for at least a 15 or maybe even a 30-second little blip to be able to show how the light colors are changing and everything. And nope. Oh, and to your point about the cameras, before I started getting on Prancer's tail about his diarrhea, but oh, the elves have a job. Oh my God. But anyway, the straw they go through. I'm sorry. Oh, I have this vision of these little elves standing in the back going, "Oh, Prancer, not again." A little bit of Christmas humor. You got. It's not necessarily a poo joke, but it is, I guess. I forgot what I was going to say now. Merry Christmas. Oh, about what you said about the cameras. When I was looking at it through my binoculars, I'm like, I can clearly see this thing doing this light jumpy thing, right? And I'm looking at it through the camera, And it's got a decent zoom on it. And I know how to make the settings. I've been tinkering with cameras for years now, trying to take, nighttime videos, and I've taken pictures of the moon and things and other anomalies. And anyway, so I got this thing and I'm trying to focus it in, and it's like, nah, the camera ain't having nothing. I can focus on the comet, it stays focused. I try to focus on the anomaly, the lens goes nuts, and I put it on manual focus. So what I do is for my camera settings, for example, for anybody who wants to try to take a picture of something, always put your camera in manual focus and always put it on landscape, which means it's going to automatically look at the distance rather than try to keep going back and forth. It's always going to look at the mountain. It's always going to look at the furthest thing. And so with manual focus also, if something there's a little wiggly wobbly with whatever, I can dial it in and get a better focus sometimes than what the automatic focus will do. So I do all these settings, and most digital cameras have them nowadays, even the cheaper ones. And so, but and then I choose a couple of other settings with it's a little Canon that I've got, and I'm not as happy with it as I have with some of my other cameras, which brings up a good point. I might not have the same definition, but I've got an older camera that is like takes some superb pictures. Maybe I need to get that thing out. Hmm. Anyway, that's the angels are saying, yeah, get your old Canon out. Yeah, it took better pictures in a way. It had a better focus on it and a longer zoom. But anyway, and it had a nighttime setting also, so you can see anomalies differently than this camera that I have now. Um, but so the digital camera wouldn't look at it, even with the manual settings. It messed with whatever the lens was doing, because I would had the tripod for the camera right here, and it's like, look at this and then look at this, and look at this and look at this, and go, what the hell? Why aren't these? I'm seeing it physically, but the camera ain't seeing it the way it's the way I can see it, and it's just like it's a blur. What? No matter how I focused it, look over here, looks fine. Look over here, won't focus manually or automatically. Landscape, no matter what. I'm like, well, SOB, kiss my grits. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, so are ET messing with the camera? Yeah, it's possible, but clearly with the eyes. Now, when I look at it through the binoculars, I see little strings of light flashing up and down and back and forth and like this. And you can clearly see the lines of lights. It's not a fractured look. But when I look at it with just my eyes, it shows up as a dot, 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 a triangle, not a TR3B, because you can see through it, which is really interesting. At least the observation is that you can see through them. But when you look through the binoculars again, it's these light twizzle thingy sticks that are flickering, and it almost looks like a star. And like the other night when I was observing it, it looked like a kite, and you could see the cross or a T, and then it looked like a kite that came down. And when I viewed it tonight before I left the house, which was my best view, unfortunately, no, that's not true. I had a good shot of it uh, uh, down the road a ways before I got into Florida. I stopped along the side of the road and did an observation, and it was doing the same kind of T shaped and almost like a diamond, but it almost looked like it wasn't two dimensional. It looked like it might be like a tetrahedron. It was like almost like a pyramid on the top, because you could see like the triangle, but then in the back of it, it looked like, it instead of it just being a triangle, that it was actually like a pyramid shape. and then came down. I guess I think that's what it's called. And I just forgot what I said it was. A tetrahedron. Um, but the way the lights flickered and everything, it was every time I looked at it through the binoculars, the observation was the same. When I got it into focus, and when I realized that the field of depth was different, because I kept focusing on all the stars, and then when I looked at it, it was like I couldn't see it. That's because it was it's closer than the stars are. It's a lot closer. So, but stationary here at the house, I didn't use the stars to focus on. I just focused on the object. But tonight, being out, I was like, well, wait a minute. So anyway, it's just another part of the observation. Um, it's kite shaped, but it's like two triangles, on base to base with their points opposite each other. It was like a tetrahedron. And I think that would be four sides on the top and four on the bottom, and the bottom was longer than the top. And there's been some craft who other people have taken pictures of these things. Yeah, I'd like to get me a camera. I have a camera with a scope, but it got wet and it just won't focus. It just won't do right. And what a shame, because oh my God, I've got a whole boatload of camera lenses to go on this thing. I may need to I may need to go back through that, because I've got some really good telephoto lenses that fit on this thing, and on a tripod with the camera settings and everything. You know what? The more I sit here and in um, it is a kite. So, but you know what? The more I think about that, I need to get that other camera out, because I've got four different attachment lenses to go on it, plus its own zoom, and it can zoom in on some stuff, and I got several good tripods to put it on. So I thank you, Marie, for my little discussion here about that. You helped prompt a thought about my old camera might actually be better for this, because I have lenses for them. Hmm. Interesting. Hmm. The other thing is I've been, as an amateur astronomer. Now I know I'm going to have to probably spend $600 or $700 to get anything anywhere near what I would like. But they make some very nice tabletop Celestron and a couple other types that have camera mounts on them now. It's like standard, or you can get them as an add-on. And for $500-$600, these things are really nice. And for my type of observation, as much as like I'd like to have a bigger one, they're $2,000 or $3,000 for what I want. Basic. But now my friend down in Thomasville, he's got a really nice telescope, and it's got an electric base on it. So when you set it up and plug it in, it'll actually track the stars, so you don't have to keep moving everything. All you have to do is observe, and it is of a make and type that you can put a camera on. So I'm going to see if I can twist my friend's arm and go, yo, dude, you let me use this before. I'm wondering if you'll let me use it again. I want to put a camera on this thing and take some pictures. So maybe between the two of us, and I don't think he uses it at all. So it'd be like, hey, maybe I could buy it from him or something, but to the point though. Um, I've had several telescopes over the years, and between fires and damages, I had a really nice one that burned in a house fire back in the early '80s. And I've got a telescope right there. It's a Meade, but it's only a 3-inch, refractor, and it's okay for looking at the moon and certain things. But some of the lenses that came with it, and there's some focusing issues, the Barlow lens and so forth. But anyway, with that said, though, I've been seriously, like, maybe this next year, I can save up and get a better telescope with a camera on it, because there's too many anomalies that I keep viewing that for myself, I would like to be able to share it with y'all. That's the bottom line there. So, damn near an hour here. Miss Marie, blessings to you. The sun's setting over there, you said, I think. So it's Christmas. It's Christmas night for you. Yeah, good cameras aren't cheap. No, they're not. You saw a UFO that was all spiky during the lunar eclipse. Interesting, because this you know it's beautiful. Oh my God! From here, before I got in the truck and went south, I was looking at it, going, "This damn thing is gorgeous. It's a clear night. Oh, I got to go chase this thing down." I did. Even infrared, be able to see the invisible objects. Yeah, I was doing some research in that, and some of those things come in at like $1,200 for a decent one. Some of these cheaper ones are like, don't even bother, because you're just not going to get the quality. But it's like, if something in the $600 or $700 range, I know it'd take me many months to come up with that kind of, I'd have to do some serious saving. But to the point though, man, personally, I, I'd really like to have one of those. And when you take care of them, hey, now if I could get some of my other cameras to work, like if I could get the video off of that one Sony, it's got a 720 zoom and it's got all these settings, and um, if I could just get the video off of the thing, I'll figure that out. I'll figure it out some way. Come up with something. It doesn't have any kind of USB ports or anything to it. I'd have to bring it out. I could play it on the television, for example, and then videotape, take my digital camera and videotape the TV. I know that's like a backwards way of doing it, but I could get it. And I'd be going from about a 720p. I don't think it was above that back in those days, but still, um, and then throw it into high def. So it'd look okay. And I've videotaped the TV before, and it comes out pretty good. So I could cheat that way. If I couldn't get a direct input, there are other ways I could get the video out. So, but anyway, and then I could possibly even zoom in on some stuff, but we'll see. But anyway, thank you, Marie. I want to go. Yeah, Christmas afternoon now. Been to the families, ate till I was fat as Santa. Santa Sat gave the kids their gifts, lots of crafts so they could make their own things. Good for you. Good for you. It's always good for kids to make things. So blessings to you. I'm glad you had a good Christmas. And I'm going to get ready and take a nap here. I'm going to look out the window. I'm going to take another walk outside and see what's up in the sky and see if I can find that other anomaly at the end of the tail of the Big Dipper. So you didn't film today? Okay. Well, blessings to you, Marie, and everybody else. Merry Christmas to you. And close with a prayer. Accept and receive, you, your family, and all your friends and relatives and all of your relations. Accept and receive the healing from the universe. Share what you can. Continue in your compassion. Continue with love. And may we continue to pray for peace upon this earth. So, yeah, it's in full to get. Wait. I'm so full, I got to relax and let the food digest. Well, happy digesting. And have a good evening to you, okay? And we'll talk at you soon. Bye, Miss Marie, and everybody else. Merry Christmas to you, and happy UFO watching. And anybody around North Florida, South Georgia, keep your eyes to the sky.